Historically, when people run into really tall athletes, the first question they always ask is, "Do you play basketball?" Now, I get why they do it, but nowadays it does not matter at all. No matter your size or height, what matters most is your athleticism and determination. In other words, you do not need to be as tall and menacing as Shaquille O'Neal, Dwight Howard, or Yao Ming. Also, historically, over the years, smaller guys played the guard position. It is changing now with 6'6" to 6'8" players running in the guard position. But it should come as no surprise that the top players who are under 6 feet tall all play the guard position. In this video, we highlight 12 of the best guards of all time under 6 feet in no particular order. If you feel that we are missing some important players under 6 feet or your favorite vertically challenged star, let us know down in the comments. But before we jump in, please remember that if you've enjoyed the video thus far and can't wait to see some amazing NBA talent that stands not much bigger than my grandmother, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons and make sure to tell your friends and family all about the journey we are about to embark on. Now let's dive in a bit deeper. Let's start with a big name player who comes in a smaller package. And that man is Chris Paul. Yes, if you do a quick Google search, he is listed as 6 feet, but as we all know, the NBA measurements for players are always exaggerated. He may be 5'10" or 5'11". Watching him 1,000 times on the State Farm commercials, I know he isn't fooling anyone. CP3 was an easy player to put on this list, even though he has a lack of postseason success, which is often criticized. But to be fair, without CP3, the Thunder are a lottery team this year. Chris's consistency and playmaking ability will always remain unquestioned. He's one of the best guards and floor generals the game has ever seen, period. What makes him special is his pristine vision, which makes his passing ability off the charts. And his passing prowess aside, CP3 also has the ability to light up the scoreboard with dribble drives and jumpers from all over the floor. But most impressively, Paul has been one of the better defensive point guards over the past decade as well. The only thing CP3 needs is the slippery and elusive NBA championship. If he ever gets that, you can put him on the Mount Rushmore of guards under 6 feet, if not the regular guard Mount Rushmore. Isaiah Thomas. The 5'9" Thomas is no longer in the prime of his career and is still without a team at the moment, but his impact when he is on the court is always a welcoming addition. After stretches of success with the Kings and Suns, Thomas flourished with Boston in his second year with the C's. But by his junior year with the Celtics, he was one of the most unstoppable offensive forces in all of basketball. The little man averaged an eye-popping 28.9 points and 5.9 assists per game while leading the Celtics to the top seed in the Eastern Conference. He also earned himself a 5th-place finish in MVP voting the same year, which was actually a spot ahead of Steph Curry. Damian Stoudemire, who stood 5 feet 10 inches, was also known as Mighty Mouse and was a southpaw slinger. Stoudemire burst into the scene very early on, posting a 19 points per game average through his first 3 seasons. Then Mighty Mouse settled into more of a traditional point guard role, which was able to elevate his game, and more importantly, his team's game too. He was on a Portland Trailblazers squad that was just 1 game away from reaching the 2000 NBA Finals before the Kobe-Shaq Lakers took care of them en route to another championship. JJ Barea, just like Chris Paul, listed at 6 feet, but everyone knows he isn't 6 feet. So after the NBA readjusted players' heights to be more accurate, they listed him at 5'10". In fact, his teammate Dirk Nowitzki joked on Twitter after the NBA said it would reveal real heights when listing players. He tweeted at JJ Barea, "You okay?" Barea is a small spark plug who went from an end-of-the-bench player to one of the most reliable bench players in the league. Most of his 13-year career was spent with the Dallas Mavericks. Barea wasn't the most athletic, intimidating, or quickest player on the court, but he had an uncanny ability to get to any spot on the floor he wants. Even so, Barea has continued to be a very productive playmaker throughout his entire career. Barea was a key cog in the Mavericks' 2011 title run and is very beloved in the city of Dallas. Earl Boykins. The 5'5" firecracker constantly played the game with a chip on his shoulder, and that's no surprise considering his lack of height amongst his peers. He had only 1 college scholarship out of high school, Eastern Michigan, and went undrafted upon graduating. Speaking of undrafted stars, you should check out our other video, Most Underrated Players Who Went Undrafted. Regardless, Boykins made life hellish for opposing players with his sneaky power and subtle quickness. In fact, it was rumored that the little man was able to push out over 300 pounds bench pressing, even though he only weighed roughly 135 pounds. For his career, Boykins averaged 8.9 points per game in 13 NBA seasons. Jameer Nelson. People seem to forget just how good Nelson was early in his career. After winning the Naismith Player of the Year award during his final season at St. Joseph's in Philadelphia, the undersized Nelson, even though he was listed as 6 feet, ended up being a first-round pick in 2004. He was drafted by the Orlando Magic and played alongside Dwight Howard. Jameer developed into one of the better guards in the association and even made an all-star team. Nelson helped lead the Magic to 6 straight playoff appearances during that run, including a trip to the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, Jameer got injured because if it weren't for his injury versus the Lakers in 2009, the series could have played out very differently. Avery Johnson, also known as Little General, is another legend who went undrafted in the NBA. Johnson, generally listed at 5 foot 10 inches, played much bigger than his size would indicate. He was an absolute pest on the defensive end of the floor. Johnson was one of the main leaders on the Spurs' 1999 title team over the New York Knicks. The former Coach of the Year was also a very successful basketball player not to be drafted by any NBA team. Nevertheless, thanks to an outstanding Summer League performance, the Seattle Supersonics took a leap of faith on him, starting a 16-year career where he played for the Nuggets, Spurs, Warriors, Mavericks, and Rockets, earning career averages of 8.4 points and 5.5 assists per game. Another player listed at 6 feet that really isn't is Kyle Lowry. But just like the guys mentioned earlier, Kyle plays with a ton of heart, maybe even 6 feet worth of heart. Hands down, he is the emotional and spiritual leader of the Toronto Raptors. Lowry's stint in Canada with the Raptors is where his career began to take off. Even though Kawhi Leonard helped the Raptors get over the hump to win the NBA title, there was never doubt whose team that really was and who the franchise depends on, and that's Lowry. Spud Webb was another vertically challenged star. Anthony "Spud" Webb was a Dallas native. He was also the 4th-round pick in the 1985 NBA draft. Spud quickly made an impact as a high-efficient rim attacker despite towering at 5'7". He was able to drive to the hoop and affect the play with the big boys fearlessly because he was an athletic freak. The average person really started to notice him when Spud won the 1986 dunk contest. And because of his height, he will always be regarded as one of the most unique dunkers in NBA history. And speaking of undersized slam dunk champions, and one of my favorite players to ever play for the Knicks is Nate. Nate seriously could have gone pro in several different sports. In fact, he earned an athletic scholarship at the University of Washington for football. But lucky for us, Robinson decided to commit to basketball and was then selected with the 21st pick in the 2005 NBA draft. Robinson was an Energizer bunny and always running at full speed. He had an 11 points per game average over his career, and just like Spud Webb, his most memorable moments came during All-Star Weekend during the Slam Dunk Contest. Nate was a 3-time Slam Dunk Contest champion, and even at 5 feet 7 inches, he is one of the best dunkers of all time. And now we come to the smallest player in NBA history, Mr. Muggsy Bogues. Muggs was just 5 feet 3 inches tall. He was a pesky point guard throughout his career, starting with his time at Wake Forest. He had such a fantastic college career that he earned the 12th pick in the 1987 NBA draft. Bogues was great on both ends of the floor, and especially excelled on the defensive end. Muggs utilized his dangerously quick hands and feet to make the opposing players turn the ball over. Believe it or not, the shortest player in NBA history is ranked 20th all-time in career assists per game. Pretty darn impressive, and doesn't get enough attention if you ask me. Lastly, but certainly not least, is Allen Iverson, another in the long list of players claiming to be 6 feet tall, but falls just under that height listing. Iverson, in my opinion, is the best player on the list. What player under 6 feet is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. There are plenty, so maybe it is someone not on this list. Let's be real, few players in NBA history have had a more cultural impact than Iverson, who was nicknamed The Answer. Iverson's reach to American kids was quite impressive, as he had every kid in America wearing a headband. In fact, players even tried to emulate his style and started wearing shooting sleeves just like him. Iverson was clearly the pioneer for that. From his infamous practice interview meltdown to stepping over Ty Lue during the NBA Finals, Iverson oozed swagger, and why not? I would have that much swagger too if my first step was as quick as his. Just ask Michael Jordan. Throughout his career, unfortunately, he didn't have a lot of reinforcements on his teams, and he regularly put lesser teams on his back, including the 2001 Philadelphia 76ers, who would reach the NBA Finals and take a game off of the Kobe and Shaq Lakers. Lastly, this undersized legend is a 4-time scoring champion. 5 feet to 7 feet, it doesn't matter your size in the NBA. What matters is your skill, athleticism, and heart. Just ask all of these legends mentioned.